Happy Tuesday. You are listening to Real Talk with Karen Stacy live on MiamiMikeRadio.com. And today's Tuesday and we had a long weekend. I don't know about you, but I had to tell myself today that it was Tuesday and not Monday. Like I normally on Tuesdays, I get my head goes into show mode and I concentrate and I'm there. And today I was just like, well, it's not today, it's tomorrow, and I'm like, shit, it's freaking Tuesday. So as I am grateful, I really did, the sun shined here in New York and very grateful for that. I am sending love out to some of us that live in Pennsylvania or Jersey. Unfortunately, I know there are storms coming, and I wish you all safety and safety. I mean, and sending love. I can't imagine. I have someone very dear to me that's in Pennsylvania, and you got to go for shelter and stuff. It's crazy. I just couldn't even imagine what that feels like. In your home with your family. So I'm sending lots of love out. Mother Nature is just being a real bitch lately. I mean, it's either raining or it's nasty. We did have a couple of really nice days, which I'm so grateful for. Great weekend. Thank you to anybody that served Memorial Day. Much love and respect. And just had a lot of fun. So today today's going to be very interesting. So, I basically, a lot of people ask me, like, what do you do? How do you do your show? Like, where do you get your ideas and everything? And it's all exists in my own head, basically. And I get like these brainstorms because I'll see things on social media or I'll have a conversation with somebody and I'm like, that's real talk right there. That's a topic we need to discuss. So I get these brainstorms and I'm like, let's do this. And now last week I had, the callers and everything, and that worked out really awesome. And so this week I am actually doing the same thing. I was on Facebook and I was reading somebody's post. Now, I don't know this person personally. Of course, Facebook, we have many friends on Facebook, but not necessarily that we physically know them or have met them. And I always, when I have the time, I read the posts. This particular post stuck out, and I said, that is a Real Talk show right there. So I am actually so excited because I commented on his post and I said, this is a great topic for my show. And I said, I would love to have you on. And he said, sure, whatever you like, I'm happy to do it. So we have the pleasure of having this gentleman on the show tonight. And tonight, what I want to do is because I always try to be fair and neutral, as best as possible. So he's a man explaining his viewpoints, and then we're going to have a woman explaining her viewpoints. So are you guys ready? Are we ready? Let me see some loving, some hearts, something on Facebook, in Facebook Live land. Let me know that you're ready. Because now I'm going to read to you the post that inspired my show tonight. And then we are actually going to call this gentleman and we're going to have him talk about it with us. So here we go. His post said, I never actually knew how damaged these women are in my age bracket. We joke about it, but it's beyond sickening. Enough already with the soap opera dramatics. I am not here to insult them or try to figure them out anymore. It's pointless. They will never let go of their past. Never. There are still a lot of good women out there, but most nowadays are damaged. I went through a really horrible separation and divorce, and so did my daughters. Even my own children who were put through hell have let go of a bad experience in their life. They have all the love and attention they could ever want, but I taught them to drive on and be happy. And they are happy. My girls are more mature than women in their 40s. It's okay to reflect every once in a while or feel sad, but grown-ass women with the boo-hoo, woe is me nonsense is such a turnoff. I may have to ask Caitlyn Jenner out on a date. I'm beyond sick and tired of these women and their sob stories. Go out on a date and leave your ex in the past. Meet new people and try and be happy. New men are not your exes. No one cares about your ex or your story. Let it go or go cry in the corner sucking on your thumb. It's embarrassing the way that these women act and want to go on and on about how they've been done wrong. Your ex has moved on and is probably happier without you, with a new girlfriend or a new wife. We get it already. All men are bad and you will never trust anyone again. Who gives a shit? Grow up and buy 3 cats. The message is not intended towards all women. Unfortunately, it does pertain to a lot of women nowadays. Men have flaws, but men move on. Where am I? Men have flaws, but men move on even if they were hurt. Bitter, angry, jaded, and cynical women are on a revenge crusade. Grow old with pussycats then, because that's what will happen if you don't move on and stop living in the past. So that was the post that inspired me to do this show, because that's a pretty loaded comment. I would, I am sure everyone else agrees with that as well. That's a pretty loaded comment. So I am actually going to get him on the phone and we're going to meet him and we're going to find out where this came from and, his feelings on all of it. So bear with me a moment while I call him. Here we go. Let's see. Let's hope this works. All right. Here we go.
Hello.
Hi, Nick.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Nick. It's Karen Stacy on Real Talk. We are live on MiamiMikeRadio.com.
It's great to be a part of your show, Karen.
I am really, thank you so much for coming on. I mean, that whole post, I just read the post, to all the listeners, so they understood where my thoughts came from for the show this evening. And we really are very excited that you decided to join us on the phone to talk about this. So first of all, I always ask everybody when they are a guest on my show. So first of all, your name is Nick, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And Nick, who the hell are you? Tell everybody that's listening right now who you are. I don't know who you are either, so educate me too.
Well, I am somewhat of a life coach / psychologist / regular guy from Jersey / expert on relationships.
And what makes you all of those things? I mean, you've taken course, like you're certified, you're like, what does that mean?
Well, besides my degree in psychology, I'm certified to teach class to police recruits, and I'm also been in situations in the corporate world and other work arenas, whether it's motivational speaking, but I started to drift towards the relationship end, whether it's talking about relationships at work and warning people about some of those pitfalls, or people who want to seek advice from somebody who considers themselves a relationship expert outside of some of these classes I give.
Okay. Okay, so then you have some training. Obviously, you're not just some guy that's like talking, out of their ass and telling people, this is what you should or shouldn't do. You have studied this, and so, and that. So is that what? So is that your like? What do you do? Is this what you do for a living, or?
Yes, like I said, I actually speak about relationships in the workplace, especially, like I said, in the law enforcement world, and even in the corporate world.
Okay.
But on Facebook, I'm some guy that's talking out of my ass to other people that don't know my background or my training.
Right. Well, that's why I'm asking you, because you know what? I mean, and it's fine. Everybody is entitled to their opinion, of course. But, obviously you have education behind your words. So, I always like my listeners to know, when someone's on the show, who they're dealing with, because, you could just give great advice and not know a damn thing about, like have anything behind you. But if you actually have something behind you and you've studied it and there's a method for the madness, so to speak, it gives them a little more credibility to your words. At least in my head.
Some of the background too, the information actually, is not only from some of the people that I give training classes to that talk to me outside of class, or some of the people on Facebook that do give me private messages and they compliment my advice. I get their stories. So I consider a lot of it research, because I hear stories from both men and women about their complaints or their concerns in the dating world, especially people somewhat in their 40s or a little older who are now in the dating world after 15, 20, 25 years, and some of the things they encounter. I mean, I should write a movie, to be honest with you.
Hey, listen, let's do it. It sounds great. So basically you feel you have your finger on the pulse with this, in the sense that you're speaking from, you have input from both men and women, and such. So you feel that you have your finger on the pulse with this type of subject that we're talking about.
Absolutely.
Okay. And what is, are you married, divorced? How old are you?
I'm 45. I'm divorced. I was married for 14 years. Prior to my marriage, I was in a 5, a 4, and a 3-year relationship, married for 14, and then had another 4-year relationship. So I've been in very long relationships. I was married for 14 years. And being in the dating world again since 2011 is completely different, not because I'm older, but it's not the 80s and 90s anymore. The dating world is completely upside down.
Yeah, I say I mean, I've talked about this. I know you haven't really watched or listened to a lot of my shows, but I talk about this a lot. And I talk about the climate, that we live in right now. So I definitely concur. And I had no idea the state of emergency that we were in until I started to live it. So I definitely agree with you on that. So can we address the, that whole, the what you wrote on Facebook that, prompted me to, have you on the show?
Sure. I mean, before we get into that, I just want to say, touch on a couple things. I still believe that there are men out there who will approach a woman before social media and before cell phones, asking for their home number, call them, have some nice conversation, ask them to the movies or dinner. I still think, even though that's like a payphone that doesn't exist anymore, as a metaphor, but I think that still exists, because I think it's still like when people say, "Oh, I want to go on a diet," they're looking for a magic pill or a magic secret. But there is no secret. You eat well, you exercise. Just like dating, if you really see somebody that catches your eye or you strike up a conversation and you're sincere, I think you could still do it that way. However, I think society is becoming brainwashed with all these messages of all these different dating sites, or even if you're trying to look for somebody that you met but you didn't get up enough nerves, so now you seek them out on a social media site like Facebook, and you try to do it that way because, you know, men, it takes a lot for men sometimes to walk up to a woman and face rejection, so they try to take the easy way out with social media. But I still believe that you could still do it the old-fashioned way. It's just that now everything is so accessible that some people tend to be a little lazier about it.
Yes, and also, you know, on the flip side of that, I think that, you know, a lot of us are a little more guarded as well. So, I mean, I'll give you a for instance. I know somebody that's been in my life for 4 years, and they don't even have my home number. And it's, you know, it's just, you know, like, just sometimes it just, you don't think to do it. When you meet somebody, I don't even give out my regular cell phone. I have a Google number that I use because, you know, people are crazy. And
I'm glad you brought up that point, because that's an excellent point. Because, again, not to keep bringing up back in the day, but if you were lucky enough to get a phone number and strike up a conversation, the female would give you her, you know, her address. You'd pick her up in your car.
Right.
Hopefully you were a gentleman. You
Right.
opened up her car door and all the good stuff.
Right.
Now, I don't blame women because
Right.
you don't know
if they're going to cut
this
you
guy
off.
is a psychopath.
Right, exactly.
Exactly.
Exactly. I had some guy, this is when I started with the Google. I had some guy that I met on a dating site, and I guess he had a drinking problem because he like woke up at like midnight and started, you know, whatever. I remember him texting me at like some ridiculous hour in the morning, like, I'm coming to your house right now. And I was like, what? So like I panicked because, you know, I got my kid, like, what, you can't come to my house. Like, what are you nuts? And so I actually have a lot of, you know, police officer, you know, friends and clients, and they were like, you know, Karen, you got to watch, you know, you can't maybe have a different number so that, you know, I mean, not that the guy knew where I lived because I didn't have him pick me up or whatever, but it's very scary as a woman that, you know, you don't, I mean, I'm sure men too. I've heard stories from men that women showed up at their house like psychos, banging on their door or whatever. I mean, people, this is the climate. So you really don't know. And it is very sad because I'm old. See, on this show, I talk a lot about old school and everything that the way you keep saying back in the day, obviously you're an old school type of guy as well because you keep referring back to that. And would I be correct in assuming that?
Well, yes, you're exactly right. And although I'm sometimes I have mixed emotions about it. I don't blame the women for not giving out their real number or obviously their address, because until they get to know you,
right,
and they're around you long enough to come over. But I miss the days to ring the bell with flowers and, again, to open up the car door. Now you have to meet at a specific location. It kind of takes a little bit of the romance and the luster off of
the courting.
Of it. But I do totally support women being cautious.
Right, and you're right. It does have a but and again, kind of going with the tone of that the comment that you put on your post on Facebook. You know, we become a little too guarded, right? Sometimes because you just don't know when it's okay to not be. And I did a show on this very recently as well. Talked about us building walls, right? Because you've been hurt, people have been hurt, and they build a wall, and now they are waiting for this other person to, like, I don't know, knock the wall down or something, and that's not really fair. And I kind of think that was the tone of your post. I mean, I will say that it was very blunt. It was a bit. You know, you took a step back a little bit when reading it because it did kind of sound like you were bashing women. But I got the undertone and the underlying of what you were saying and the frustration that I assume, you know, you're encountering and listening to since you're coaching and everything. So it's a difficult thing because, yes, you're right. I don't think a lot of people do the work. And people are damaged, as you use those words. And if you don't fix what's broken, then you're never going to be able to move on into a healthy, successful relationship.
Yes, and I want to let your audience know that I'm not one-sided. It may look like that I'm obviously I'm a man, so I'm taking it from the male point of view. But I understand that women meet men who might, and I'm just going to be blunt because that's my nature.
It's okay.
They're a mama's boy, or they're looking for a second mom, or they don't have the attributes that women are looking for either. So I don't want women to think that I only see it from one lens. I see it from both lenses. It's just that most of the people that I speak to are men, and I'm getting their horror stories more than I hear from the women. The only complaint I hear from the women is, again, to be blunt, that a guy feels that after an expensive dinner or 3 dates that he deserves and is entitled to sex. That's the number one complaint from women I get. Then I get the same that I get from men. That must have been a picture from 1999. That he doesn't look like that anymore.
Oh, the
and then
dating
the third
sites.
one is
Okay.
Yes, and then the third one is that he doesn't have the manners or the etiquette that they would have liked in an old school gentleman. And it's not only just pulling out the chair, open the car door. If a man, this is also my belief, if a man's going to ask you out on a date and you go to dinner, he expects the woman to pay half. And I don't agree with that because I was raised, again, old school. And these are the 3 complaints I get from the women. The number 1 complaint, number 2 complaint, and number 3 complaint that I get from men is they're holding and harboring some bitterness and anger over the way not only an ex-husband or ex-boyfriend, or maybe even a recent ex-boyfriend did them wrong, and they don't want to trust the next guy. And I understand why they wouldn't, but you're not going to, you may not give the right guy a chance because you're holding on to bitter feelings from other men.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
Until you're ready to date
and
give somebody a legitimate chance, you shouldn't be out there dating. And that goes for both genders. But again, I just this weekend alone at a couple barbecues, and people know that I, aspire to honestly write a book one day about this. They're telling me stories, again, from the guy's perspective, where the women, right from the beginning of the dinner, they're just going on and on and on about an ex-boyfriend or ex-husband, and they say to the guys they're on a date with is, well, if you get into a relationship with me, what are you going to do different? And it turns a lot of men off because we didn't even get to the second date, and you're already talking about
that's
already
like an
in
interview.
a relationship.
Yeah, that's like an interview. Wow, that's
it
a
is
lot.
an interview.
Wow. Well, you guys are listening to
and
Real.
One gentleman. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say one gentleman said to me that a lot of the women that he went on 20 dates in 30 days. Now that's a lot of dates. He must make good money too. But he went on 30 dates, and he's the kind of guy that likes to do the old school romance dinner and all that stuff and whatnot. And he said to me, out of the 20 dates, at least 17 of the dates seemed like they were angry about their exes and they shouldn't even be dating yet because they're not ready to give someone else a legitimate chance.
Interesting. Well, you are listening to Real Talk with Karen Stacy live on MiamiMikeRadio.com. On the phone, I have my new friend, Nick, and we are talking about the climate right now and dating. He has experience in life coaching and such. So we're just kind of talking about, I guess, basically dating, over 40, right? After divorce, after loss. And I do, like I said, I do talk about this a lot on the show. It's nice to have another perspective. I can go back at you now because you said that you have a lot of men that you hear these things from. So I am a woman. So I have my own experiences. And I also have, people, for some reason, everybody wants to talk to me and tell me their life story. So I have had a lot of men that I have met on dating sites and stuff, and they have told me their experiences. So it's a very interesting thing. So now, for me personally, I always have to have a conversation or something, right? So I have had a guy call me, and now I haven't been actively doing this anymore at this point, but this was a while, a year or 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever it is. And when they got on the phone, they started talking. Now, I don't have a problem talking. Anybody that knows me, I can do my show by myself for 2 hours and talk. I got no issue with that. I did not get a word in edgewise with quite a few people. And it was because they spent the entire time talking about their ex. So, just the same way that you just said that, women are bitter and angry and such, it's definitely the men that you've spoken to, maybe they don't know it. Maybe they don't think they're doing it. I think a lot of us don't think we're doing it because they don't check themselves. So maybe they don't even realize that they're talking about their exes, or because they're harboring so much hurt and they're damaged, as you called, broken, bitter, resentful, lost, all of these things. Maybe they don't even realize that they're doing this. But I literally, an hour on the phone that I'm never going to get back. And I'm like, okay, I got to go, so men do it too. And in my experience, a lot of men don't actually deal with their feelings and emotions. Men are not emotional beings. They're, they're the protector. They're the dominant, and like you said, or maybe they're a mama's boy. But, most men are not very in touch with their emotions. And it's like, okay, I broke up with this person and I'm done. And then they don't even talk about it or think about it. And then they're bringing that into their next relationship. So I think it goes both ways, and that was what I was trying to say to you when I was commenting, is that I think that we both have the same experiences. I think men are just as damaged, and I actually think men might be more damaged because they don't go through the work to fix themselves. But on the flip side of that, I think a lot of women also, some of us can be damsels in distress, right? So we think that by getting a man, they're going to fix it for us. So I think there's a lot on both ends. So that was why I wanted to talk to you about this, because I have seen it on both ends, and I don't disagree with anything you wrote. I think it was a bit callous, but I think that you were just done and you had to verbalize what you had to verbalize. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I do think that there is the other side to it, because I live it and I listen to it, because I have people that call me and talk to me and tell me all of these things. And a lot of times they're women, a lot of times they're men. It's a little bit of both. So I think sadly, it's across the board. So I share in your frustration, as do I think many of my listeners right now.
I agree and disagree, and I'll tell you why I disagree. I agree because, yes, there are men who are just as damaged and may not let go of their past experience with an ex-wife or an ex-girlfriend in a long-term relationship. And they, like you said, this guy took an hour of your life and you never get back.
Right.
But the only reason I disagree on the amount and the percentage is because of this. Of all the hundreds of people I've spoken to over the years, I still don't get the number one complaint from women that men holding on or harboring ill feelings towards any woman because their ex did them wrong. I get it every once in a while, but I don't get that as the main reasons that women are frustrated in the dating world. I get a lot of other answers. Like I was telling you, men are not gentlemen. They expect sex. They don't have traditional values. They want free milk. I hear all these other answers and complaints, and then every now and then they'll say they're hung up on their ex. So I do get that, but not the percentages. When I talk to men, it's like that's all I hear is that these women that are hurt or were done wrong just keep saying to themselves, all men suck or all men are bad and they're all the same. And some of that, there is validity to that.
Right.
Because, you hate to generalize.
Right. But
in general, even as a man, I can admit a lot of men are out there, they're just looking for a notch on their belt. We all know that.
Uh-huh.
But I think that when a good guy comes along,
you should be able to recognize that.
Well, not only that, but here's the other dynamic to that.
Okay.
Because women, by nature are smarter than men. I'll always say that. They sense like, oh wow, this one's different, and then a different defense mechanism comes up. Is like, oh, this is one I can be vulnerable to, but I'm going to get hurt anyway, and now let me even be more guarded because I'm scared to get involved with a nice guy because they're used to bad guys.
Okay.
It's like a phenomenon that they want a great guy, and then when they meet one, they're more scared.
Yeah, well, you know what? And there's a flip to that too, though. And I agree with you. That makes perfect sense to me. But here's the flip to that. I've met guys that tell me, I want to meet a woman, I want to meet a woman that I can marry. I want to meet marriage material. Now, I am a widow. I was married.
Sorry for your loss.
Thank you. And so I am marriage material. I know what it is to be married, and my husband died a happy man. So when I meet a guy that tells me that they're looking to get married and I'm right in front of them, then I don't believe you. So this is what I'm saying when I say that I don't think people actually know exactly what it is that they want. Because if a guy really wants...
Or it could be manipulation, because some men will... Again, not to say all men are like this.
That's okay, go ahead.
Because I don't want to bash men either. But that could be part of their MO as far as tell them what they want to hear.
There you
I'm
go.
only sticking around for 3 to 6 months. I want to have a good time.
Right.
And I don't mean just sexually. I mean, they're just professional daters and then on to the next.
So again, that's my point. So now... If they're saying that, and I have to take people at face value, right? If you say to me, you know what, if I say, you say, well, what are you looking for? My response is everything. So, like, what are you looking for? Well, I want a wife. I want to eventually get married. I want a serious relationship. So now, if that's what your intention is, now I know that either me personally, if I don't want to get married, then I know you're not the right person for me. Or if I do want to get married, then that says, okay, we have the same goal. So let's see where we can put this. But my point is that I think, and I could be wrong, but I think that maybe they had that in their head. They do want to get married and they do want to find a woman to marry. But when it's actually in front of them, of course, it could just be the wrong person, don't get me wrong. But if it's actually in front of them, then why wouldn't they take advantage of that and pursue it? So it goes back to what you were saying a few minutes ago, is that you have to recognize if someone is a good guy or not. But even I've met good guys, but they definitely are not, look, if you're looking for somebody to marry, then you should be pursuing this very differently. Holy cow. I don't know if you guys just heard that, but that was thunder, I guess. So maybe the heavens are agreeing with me right now. But you guys are listening to
That was actually Mother Nature concurring with
That's what I'm saying. I know, I'm in with her. No. You guys are listening to Real Talk with Karen Stacy live on MiamiMikeRadio.com. And on the phone, I have Nick who is coaching us on some life's lessons here and such. And we're talking about relationships and men and women and what women want out of them and what men want out of them. And it sounds to me like you feel that women are very misguided. That's kind of what I'm getting from a lot of what you're saying. Would you agree with that?
To a degree, but I want to touch on something you just said in terms of when a guy, let's forget the guys that are just looking for a good time, or they're just looking to date for a few months, even though they said they're looking for marriage material. Let's use the example. It is a nice, sincere guy.
Okay.
You're right in front of him. You have all the attributes he's looking for, and he is looking and is interested in marrying.
Okay.
This is the other part of the stereotype.
Okay.
Now the man has a great woman in front of him.
Right.
He wants to get married.
Right.
And yet he's in quicksand. You know why? He's more vulnerable than a woman, but the stigma attached to that won't allow him to communicate that, yes, I'm falling in love with you. Yes, I'm looking to get married with somebody like you, but I'm scared because I don't know if you're going to hurt me.
Yep.
Because men don't want to tap into those emotions because we don't have estrogen in our body.
Right.
So
well, that's what I was
we're not
saying.
supposed to feel those things.
Well, you are supposed to feel
but
those
men
things.
do feel those things.
Yeah.
That's what women don't understand.
Absolutely.
And they don't admit them. So sometimes you do have the right guy. He's a genuine guy. He wants to get married, yet he runs for the hills because he feels kind of like in the same boat as a woman. He's scared to get hurt, but he doesn't want to admit that. So he said, this is too good to be true. And just like a woman will do sometimes, they'll pass on a great guy because out of fear or they don't want to get hurt.
Right. Agreed. And I think, sadly, that I think is the recipe of the love life at this point, because that is exactly what happens. Because again, people are afraid to get hurt. We're all smarter. Well, we're supposed to be wiser and smarter now, right? We're supposed to learn from our mistakes. And if people have gone through, I've heard about, I know you wrote in your post, right? You said that your children went through hell. You went through hell with your divorce, right? So, no one wants to go through hell again, especially because at this point,
exactly,
none of us need it, right? We're all hopefully we're all financially secure. We all have our families. We're not looking to have more children. We have a home, so we're not looking for somebody to give us their home or whatever. So there's a lot of different things that are brought to the table at this point. So yeah, I mean,
it's a great point, Karen, because on some of the dating sites that I've been on, right now I'm not on any, but I've been on a few to seeing that everybody else probably tried. And it's funny you said what you just said, because I wrote in my profile, I have a great job, I'm financially secure, my children are good, they're in their life and their careers, I have great friends and family. I just don't have my better half. That's all that's missing.
Right.
Where in the past we had boyfriends and girlfriends in our early 20s and late 20s, but we weren't established yet.
Correct.
But now we're established. We're looking for the final piece to the puzzle.
Correct. Which is why we can be a lot more selective, number one. And number two, which is also why I think that people are afraid and they pull back, because you have everything you need right now, right? Like for instance, myself, right? Okay, I have my kid, I have my home, I have what I need. And yes, I don't have a significant other in my life, which in my opinion, completes the puzzle, right? But at the same token, after I finish my show tonight and I don't want to talk to anybody because I've been talking for 2 hours, I get to go in my house and not talk to anybody. I don't have to please anyone. I don't have to make nice. I don't have to make nobody food. I don't have to have anything. I could just go upstairs and chill out and, kiss my dog and, hopefully go to sleep. But what is the flip side of that? The flip side is that if I did have a significant other, maybe they would be waiting afterwards and say, how was the show, babe? Did you get a good response? Did you get a good feedback?
And they would have dinner waiting for you.
That's what I was going to say. And maybe there would be a glass of wine waiting, or I would get my foot rubbed or whatever. So there's two sides to all of it. But you know what? The truth of the matter is that we as adults now are self-sufficient. And so would I love all of those things? Absolutely. But if it's the wrong person, then I'm going inside and now I got to deal with his bullshit after I just finished talking for 2 freaking hours. Like, you know what? I'm good. Stay home. Don't bother me. And, if I feel like it, I'll talk to you tomorrow, and then unfortunately, this is what happens when we all become self-sufficient. So until it all clicks, then who needs it? And that's the reason why people do get nervous, because now all of a sudden your happiness is riding on another human. And that's scary because
absolutely. I tell people something and they look at me funny as if to say, why are you telling me this? That was simplistic, but it's not simplistic. I tell people, do you know the reason why now, there's a variety of reasons why a marriage may not work. If you take infidelity or somebody has a drinking problem or a drug problem, we know those factors can end a marriage. But in general, I would say to people, you know what truly is the reason marriages don't work? And they say, why? I say, because you didn't marry the right person. Yeah. And they look at me like, no kidding. No, what I mean by that is you could be high school and college sweethearts.
Yep.
And have all these years together, and in the progression of life, these individuals think, well, we've been together in high school and college, the next step is marriage. You're not the same people that you were as freshmen and sophomores.
You grew apart.
You may not be right for each other.
Yep.
But people take that next step without saying, listen, relationships are hard enough that whether they rub your feet or cook dinner for you, at the end of the day, sometimes you don't want to be bothered by anybody. We all need our own space.
Sure.
But if you marry the wrong person,
then you really need space.
It's not going to ever work.
Right. You're never going to feel that way.
You may not have the same interests anymore.
Yep.
Right.
Well, that's the problem, is that a lot of people don't grow together. It takes a lot for people to grow together, where, if you meet somebody and you're at a crossroads, right. But like, let's say now that you're at a crossroads, I'm a widow. There's days that I don't do so good, and I will never not miss my husband, I will never not miss him, but he's no longer here. And I realize that, and I know that, and I've, spent time working on myself so that I can love again. And, I'm not damaged. I'm broken. My heart was broken, but it's fixed where it's going, it's as fixed as it's going to be, for lack of a better term. Right. So I'm ready to move forward, certainly if I have the right person in my life. But also that person has to also be sensitive to the fact that I'm going to have good and bad days, that I have a son who's 10 years old and he lost his father at 5 years old. So he's going to have to be sensitive to the fact that even though he may be very happy in his life, we have good and bad days. So it's part of growing together, right? And that's the thing, is that people don't always grow together and empower one another. I feel like in life right now, people either grow apart, or they're trying to break each other down instead of empower one another.
And that's a good point. As far as I've dealt with a few widows here and there, and that topic, obviously you're the expert, not me, but what I've learned from widows is that it takes a special person to recognize that bad day and say, honey, if you just want to be alone and need space, to offer that, or you just want to just be together, but you just want silence, or you just need a hug.
Right.
Or, and because some men and women, because there's different kinds of widows,
yep.
Hate to say this about human beings by nature, are selfish in relationships, and they're not thinking about the other person's feelings, especially in this case of a widow.
Sure.
And that person has to remember something else in this arena, is that you didn't get a divorce because you had a horrible husband. He passed.
Right.
So they have to recognize that you're not alone because you chose not to be with your husband.
Correct.
Life made that choice, not you.
Correct.
So it takes a special individual to be able to support someone and not feel jealousy.
Correct.
Or feel less than.
Right.
Because their spouse was taken from them. That's another dynamic in relationships. So it would take a special man to be able to date someone like yourself who lost their spouse.
Correct. Now, I'm going to interrupt you because I'm going to give you the flip side right now because of what you just said, and you're spot on with that. So I have met, how many now? 2, 3, maybe 2 or 3 widowers, right? That's what you call the men. So I met a few men that lost their wives, and I thought, wow, this is perfect. Because just like you said, it takes a special person to understand that. So when you talk about them, you're not talking about them like the present tense. You know it's the past tense. You know it's behind you. But you shared a certain bond that you are, that was taken from you. And I have found, and I thought like, oh, great. Now I have these guys that know exactly how I'm feeling. So I don't have to defend myself, so to speak. And they're not going to be intimidated or jealous and all of those things. And guess what? They were the worst people because they were the most broken, because men, and again, I'm going back to that, men don't usually do the emotional work that they need to. Even though one of them told me that they went to therapy, that they did this, they did that, they're broken and they don't fix it. So on the flip side, that's why I'm saying men, and it's not one, it's 2, maybe 3 that the same thing. They were all in and everything was great. And then all of a sudden they like you said, I guess they got scared and one of the guys said to me, I'm afraid to love someone again. So What do you do with that?
Listen, I'm not trying to butter up your audience, especially the females who may have thought my post was a little too callous or aggressive. I will always say that women are mentally stronger than men. We know men are mostly physically stronger,
right?
With the exception of some strong women,
right?
Physically because of our body composition, but mentally, women are far superior with their emotions and their strength to move on and to fix what they need to fix. Men don't do that well. They don't.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why, forgive me, when I saw your post and you talked about women being damaged, I came back at that because men are damaged too. And men don't always do the emotional work to fix that. So my point is that I see where you're coming from and what you were saying and the intent behind it and the lesson, if you will. But, men are this, I'm on the other side of it. And, I see it and I've lived it. So it goes on both sides. I guess, like you said, you
but
hear
here's the thing that I need to explain though, Karen, that I haven't touched on yet.
Okay.
The damage I meant when it came to one specific area that I should have articulated better in my post, women are way more damaged in the dating world than men. And I don't mean widowers. I mean, in other words,
I see what you're saying.
My friend who went on 20 dates, 17 of them could not let go of their perception of men because of the hurt that their exes have done to them. Where men, if it's not a widower, they tend to bounce back in the dating world a little better than women and don't hold on to that. Well, all women, this woman hurt me, so all women are bad. I think women fall prey to that a lot more than men, and they don't want to trust. And I don't mean the safety factor. In general, they don't have faith in good men anymore.
Right.
Where a man might be out just to go out and have a good time. He's not even thinking about a relationship in the dating world.
Right.
Women hold on to that resentment a little bit longer if an ex cheated or an ex was verbally or physically abusive than the men do. That's what I meant by women are more damaged just in that specific realm.
Well, women also, like we remember everything, right? Like if you, didn't like the dress we wore,
Exactly.
like 5 years ago, I'm going to be like, oh, right. Okay. So, and we don't forget any of that. Right. So, of course, I mean, I did a show a couple of weeks ago, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, because we are definitely programmed very differently. But one would think that as we got older, that we would be better at figuring these things out, right? Like when you're younger and, your hormones are going crazy, maybe you don't think as clearly, right? But now, like all of us, like, sex shouldn't be like, you're the driving force of something, right? I mean, we're all adults and obviously that's important. But, we should be able to think,
it's not the deal breaker.
It should, well, that, I don't know who, it can be a deal breaker, but I'm just saying, like.
Well, it could be if it's horrible.
Yes.
But it's not the only factor in when you're looking for a partner.
Right. Of course. Absolutely. So, those things, but what I'm saying is that your judgment should be clearer, when you're an adult, because you're not, it's not that whole thing. Like, now, look, we're adults. We all have needs. We know how to take care of ourselves. Or maybe you have somebody on reserve that takes care of you, whatever. So, we're not really making decisions based on that. But there are a lot of people that really don't want to deal with the people that are broken and the people that are hurt. So they want to just, have this, everybody's like this friends with benefits, right? Nobody has a relationship anymore. Nobody commits to anybody. It's like, okay, I'll see you when I see you. We'll play when we play. And, whatever. If you text me and I don't respond to you, don't break my balls about it. This is how it goes. And this is kind of the climate that we live in right now.
I think part of the reason that happens on both ends, and let me make one point about the men are from Mars, women are from Venus. When I speak to people about that phrase, I say to them, as much as sometimes we talk about racial backgrounds or religious backgrounds, I can be with another American male, regardless of his color of his skin or his culture. I'm gonna probably think a lot more alike with him than a female because there's a bigger gap between gender than race, in my opinion.
Okay.
Because I've worked with many people of different colors and backgrounds, and we all pretty much understood each other and looked at things the same. Whereas a woman, she could be, I'm from an Italian descent, she could be Italian, and I don't think nothing like her because she's a woman. So I really do believe that that's true, that men are from Mars, women are from Venus, because the gender thing sometimes is a wider gap. But to go back to what you were just talking about, as far as whether it's a friends with benefits or it's a casual, this is another great conversation I have with people. Again, back in the day, you met somebody, you got their number, you start dating, and just like at the Preakness and the Kentucky Derby, the gates open up and you're out, you're out of the gate, and you start running and having a great time and enjoying each other,
right,
and having a relationship. Now, and I don't know if it's all social media, but now there's this big gray area, and I think sometimes people, whether it's the guy or the girl, don't want to put it on the table. Like, what are we doing? Are we exclusive? Are we not exclusive? Are we going to meet each other's parents? Or are we going to just hang out and not no strings attached?
Right.
And I think that's also convoluting the dating world, because even though you might be on a dating site, and I keep going back to that because that seems to be the number one way to meet people with our busy schedules, that they don't even look at the bottom of the profile where the person says, not looking for anything serious,
right,
just looking to meet people,
right,
which is okay, because that female might be in medical school or doing her internship, and she don't have time for a boyfriend.
Right.
But then this guy and her kind of click, but the guy wants a girlfriend and she doesn't want a boyfriend.
Right.
So I think that even though we always talk about communication, I think that's one of the biggest factors in people. Well, why didn't you text me back? Like you said, why are you breaking my balls that you didn't text? Right. Well, I had 7 classes in a row where I didn't even get a lunch break today at the hospital, so I wasn't able to text you back. So
that's different.
That's another.
That's different.
Yeah,
though.
that's another.
That was not
in
any
of dating.
Yeah, but that's completely different. You know, no response is a response. So, you know, believe me, I deal with it all the time. Nothing annoys me more than somebody that doesn't respond. You know, validate someone. I don't care what it is. Even sometimes I'll send a message like, I'm sorry, I'm just jammed up. I'll get back to you. Everybody has a minute, okay? We have our phones attached to us everywhere. When you go to pee, you could take a minute and you could text, I'm sorry.
God. You know, I've said that to women. I've used that line. I say, at some time in your day, you went to the ladies' room and you could have sent me a 10 or 15-second text saying, I'm going to have to get back to you later because I'm swamped at work.
Agreed. But
they acknowledged you. They had enough manners to just respond. Like you said, there's no excuse for not responding.
No.
If the president can be on Twitter, then you can respond to me.
No, but that's my point, though, Nick, is that no response.
Yeah, I agree with you. Absolutely.
No response is a response. I have people. You have people in your life that I'll say, like, I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Oh my God, they're busy. They're whatever. I'm not going to bother them. Whatever. Meanwhile, I need this. The text. There's no problem. They could text you when they need something, but they can't respond back to you when you ask them something. Then it's like, go fuck yourself, because now I'm here and when you need me, I'm right here. And then if I don't respond to you because you know that I am a courteous person and I always respond. So now when I don't respond, it's like, oh, what's going on? Like, oh, is she playing games? She's playing games because she's not responding to me. And there are times that, yes, I am busy too, and I can't get back to that person right away. But I also prioritize. There are people that I get back to immediately, and then there are people that I don't get back to immediately because they don't rank that high in my world, right? So, again, no response is a response. But my point is that this is the climate that we live in right now. And people are not considerate. We're all older at this point. We should all be smarter, wiser, and more considerate. Like you said, you want to go to somebody's house and bring flowers. You want to be a gentleman. We should be ladies and we should be gentlemen. And to be a lady is to respond to a man. Okay? And a man should be the one that reaches out to the woman. And sometimes I come off a little messed up because I'm like, you know what? I'm going to let you be the man. Because so many of us women have become the men because men are not stepping up and doing what they're supposed to do. So women have stepped up and done that. So now it's and I don't agree with that. I know why they do it. I know why we do it. But it's wrong and it's not fair to the men either because now men don't know where they're supposed to go. If you have a very dominant man in terms of the fact that he's strong and confident, he will override that and he will gently move in and realize, okay, I need to take control over this or whatever. Control probably isn't the right word. People might be like, wanting to choke me, but and I don't mean control in a bad way. I mean controlling. I mean taking control.
I understand what you mean and what context you mean.
Right, but I want to make sure that no women out there think that I'm trying to say no. I don't mean controlling. There's a very big difference.
Your audience knows who you are. They know you're not like that.
Between control and controlling. So when I expect a man to take control, you want to see me. You should be the one, and is it old fashioned or whatever? I have no problem. I'll call anybody, anything. I reached out to you. I got no problem with that. But if we're dating or whatever, I want the good morning text. I want you to be the person that reaches out to do that. I want you to be the one that says, what are you doing tomorrow night? That's what I want. And I think women should have it. It's an
old-fashioned term, but it's called courting.
Yes, I know. I said that earlier.
And although I understand the younger generation may not know that term, courting,
absolutely,
it makes a woman feel desired,
like a woman,
and that the and the gentleman is that interested.
Like a woman.
Like you said, in today's... See, here's the thing, and again, not to bash women because guys have their own flaws. A woman wants a man to be a man and to be alpha. However, a lot of women send mixed messages and say, well, you didn't have to do that. Well,
right.
That's the way I believe in,
right,
because I'm old school or I'm old-fashioned.
Right.
And then men back off because they're like, well, she's a little too independent for me, and she doesn't want me to be alpha because she wants to be alpha. And then I say something sarcastic on Facebook like, well, then you're going to have to grow old with your 3 cats.
Right.
Because there's a lot of men that won't want a woman like that. They want to feel like the man. They want to be alpha. Women will say this, oh, I met a guy, he's boring, he's dry, he doesn't want it, he doesn't know what to do. The worst thing, women tell me all the time, not women I date, women I interview, the worst thing a guy can do when you start to date is when the woman says, what do you want to do? And the guy says, I don't know, what do you want to do? That's not a real man. I can plan 20 dates without even thinking about it because I'm not currently in a relationship, and I think about all the things I would do, even if it's mini golf on a summer night, right? Go get ice cream and play mini golf on a Thursday night. I don't think any woman would say no to that, or take you to a spa day or take you to a Broadway play. So men want to be the alpha sometimes, and women have become so independent, and I do admire independence in a woman, have careers and they're successful, but let the man feel like he's the man sometimes. I
agree, and I have said that 1,000 times, and I am a very strong woman. That was a big battle that me and my late husband had. But you know what? I have no desire to be the man. And especially right now, I am. I mean, I'm a single mom. I'm raising a child, alone. And I mean, gratefully, we have, I have my in-laws, I have my father, but that's it. I mean, so, I am the man at this point. And I laid a floor down the other day. Like, I am not that girl. I'm a girly girl. I don't want to do that. I have no desire to be the man. And it's very difficult, and I don't want to do it. And sadly, if anybody came in to do it, I would be like, okay. And I would run and be like, okay, you can do it. I have no desire to do that. But unfortunately, men get nervous then. Oh, she's needy. She's needy. So we can't win, because if we are independent, now I got to back off, and this girl, she wants to be the dominant one. I'm the dominant one. This isn't going to work. Then you get somebody who will go back. Oh, she's needy. She's going to fall in love too fast. She's needy, blah, blah, blah. So you can't win. So this is my point, is that it goes, it's a two-way street on both ends. So
absolutely,
and again, it's finding the right people that work together, for a commonality, and
tell each other what you want. There's nothing, now, again, I don't mean on the first date or even the third date. But if you start to date exclusively, my advice would be tell each other what you want in a relationship, what you expect from the other person, and what you're willing to let the other person do if they want to do it. And I think that would work a lot better than the assumptions. Because when you start doing the assuming thing, as you know, the ass out of you and me, it's people start to perceive things that aren't reality.
Damn, so I guess I screw it up when, at first conversation, I'm like, you can be the man. Like, I say that right off the bat. I probably do too much.
But see, I find that refreshing.
That's me.
I think a lot of men find that refreshing. If a man doesn't find that refreshing, then he's not a guy looking for a relationship, in my opinion.
Well, then people must not find it refreshing, because I am single. So, I don't know that's the case. But, I find it refreshing. I think that's the way it's supposed to be. But I think that this is what I'm trying to say, is that some people find it to be too much. Like, people will say, oh, well, she's a tough cookie. I hear that a lot. And a girlfriend of mine said it. I even said it to me today. Oh, she's a tough cookie. I'm like, I'm a tough cookie. I'm like the biggest mush there is. But I'm strong. But
you're strong, opinionated, and some people are intimidated by that.
Right. And so, and again, that's not my problem. I mean, if you're a good person, you shouldn't be intimidated. If you believe in yourself, I could go head to head with anybody because I believe in what I'm talking about. You're a trained, you have all these things behind you, and I just play this on the radio. I mean, I don't have a degree in psychology. I don't have any of these type of things, but I know people and I've interacted enough with people. I've been through a lot of things and I see and I watch. So that's why you said about your, with the post where, about the 3 cats, like that was, that was fucked up. You could have gotten your point across by not putting that in. When you put that in, you put women on the defense right away. So if your job is to work with people and women and relationships, then you're making our like spidey senses go up when you write something like that. Because to me, that's very derogatory.
On Facebook, I'm off.
You're off the clock.
When I'm on Facebook,
you're off the clock.
I'm off the clock.
Okay.
I'm just that pompous, arrogant ass.
Okay.
Talking out of my ass because I find that banter enjoyable, and my close friends and family that are on my Facebook page, they just laugh and roll their eyes because they know that's really not me, but I like to be a wise ass on there.
Okay.
But in real life, I would never say that to a group that I'm lecturing or teaching a class about relationships or in the workplace or something to that effect. I would be a little bit, I'm usually in the public arena on the woman's side.
Huh.
Because, well, number one, that's better for my health, number one. And number two, I do think outside dealing with the women that my friends tell me in the dating world that are damaged, I think women still have it harder in the dating world overall because 2 things they have to worry about. 1, the safety,
yep.
And 2, most guys just want sex.
Right.
So they're already behind the 8 ball.
Right. Well, and the thing is,
I feel bad for women in that way.
But women might want the same things, but unfortunately, women usually have more emotion. But again, the women now are more. A lot of the women I know are stronger than a lot of men that I've met along the way, which is a really scary thing. So I said,
the women are mentally stronger,
right?
In general,
even physically, not everybody is, we're not damsels in distress anymore. I have right. I know women that could build a goddamn house. So they don't.
I know.
I mean, they don't need. That's the issue in the world right now. Is women don't need a man, and men don't need a woman. Right at this stage, hopefully. But it's all about what you want. So it's about wanting. I don't need anybody, but I want somebody, but I don't need them.
Right, you don't need it, but you want it, correct.
And so that's a better place to come from because when you need something, that already puts you in the wrong place because now, you're needy. So you don't need that. You have to be secure and stand up on your own 2 feet. And then if you have someone that adds to your life, then it's that much better.
Well, it's funny because I wrote a Facebook post, again, to be sarcastic and a wise ass, but again, kind of standing up for the women. Now, listen, not everybody's old school or traditional or old-fashioned,
right.
But I wrote, I don't blame women for doing things on their own because women are taking kickboxing classes and men are wearing rompers and skinny jeans. What the hell happened?
That's true. Very good point.
And I'm saying to myself, where are the real men at? Like, no wonder these women have to take the bull by the horns and they can't rely on a man in a traditional sense because some of these men just aren't men anymore. They just, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, absolutely. I listen, I talk about that all the time, and I say that all the time. So you are listening to Real Talk with Karen Stacy live on MiamiMikeRadio.com, and I have had on the phone Nick, who has given us some insights from his coaching standpoint, and we're talking about dating. And, you know, he made a post about women and being damaged, and I reacted to it. And I did also look at a lot of the comments on there as well. So as you know, I said that I was going to do the man's version, and then I'm going to do the woman's version. So I would love to maybe have you on again. And we
Absolutely.
could continue this, and maybe, you know, if you're, you know, if we can actually get into the studio together, we can take some phone calls and some comments. But I do appreciate all that you brought to the table. I think that you gave everyone a lot to think about. And I want to, you know, I'm going to let you can listen on after we hang up. And we're going to have a female version come in now, you know, in response to all of this as well. So this is Real Talk, and we're going to have some interesting banter at this point.
I just want to thank you for having me on. And when I come to the studio, I'll have some additional interesting things to touch on.
You know what? I would love that. That sounds great. And I do thank you so much for your time and your insight, because I like to show different perspectives on things. That's my duty here as on the show, is to just show people different ways to interpret things. And I think you brought a lot to us, where this is definitely a male version of this. So, and you went back and forth with me. Obviously, I'm a female. So now I'm going to have a female on, and I want to hear her version of this. And we're going to see probably how opposite both people are, right? So it's going to be an interesting thing. It's like a science experiment. hopefully one that goes right and it doesn't explode.
Mars versus Venus.
Exactly. So I thank you so much, Nick, for your time today.
Anytime.
And we will definitely talk soon, and we'll make this happen again.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you. Bye-bye. All right, so that was pretty interesting. Nick had a lot to say, a lot of insight on there. And now I am going to have someone calling in. Her name is Lisa. And she actually had commented on the post that I just read. And again, I know some of you are just tuning in, so I should probably read it again, just so that the people that were not tuned in can hear it. But you know what? I'm going to read that. But Lisa, can you call me so that I'm going to read it aloud, and I want you to be on the phone with me. And this way we can do it together. So I'm going to see where are we here? All right. So I'm going to have her call in now, and we are going to, she's been standing by all this time, and now I don't know if she's here. I think I lost her. Maybe she went to pee, which, you know, everybody could kind of do, right? Take a station identification. But you guys, speaking of which, you're listening to Real Talk with Karen Stacy live on MiamiMikeRadio.com. And, you know, I always talk about old school. I talk about dating. I talk about the climate that we live in. And it was really amazing to have Nick call in and share this with us. So, you know, there was a lot. I think he did take the post down, because I went to look at it again and I didn't find it. So, you know, I'm not sure why. Okay. And she's saying her call won't go through. Okay. I'm not sure why. So let's see. Give me 1 second and I will give her a call because it's not working. So here we go. Voice call. Here we go.
Hello.
Hi, Lisa. You are live on MiamiMikeRadio.com.
Hi.
Hi, thank you so much for for calling in. So I am going to, with your permission, I am going to. Well, first of all, before I even read this again,
Okay.
I like to let the listeners know. First of all, I don't know you either, just like I don't know Nick.
Correct.
So can you tell us a little bit about you?
Sure. Single mom. My ex-husband passed away 2 years ago, and
I'm sorry.
I raised my girls since divorce. So I'm not a widow, but I do understand where you're coming from.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. Single mom, working, doing her thing.
What do you
trying
do?
to meet a nice guy.
What do you do?
EMS.
You're EMS.
And yes, working on the ambulance for 22 years, and now I work with children with autism and different disabilities that they have.
Wow, not. God bless you. I mean, that's not easy, and it takes a lot of patience and love and understanding. So God bless you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Now, how many children do you have?
I have two. My one daughter will be 25 next month, and my other one is 21.
Okay, so they're grown. Okay, so you're
Yes.
do they live with you, or are you?
Yes, right now we are living together.
You guys live together. Okay. So, and all right, so you're basically, so how long are you divorced?
It will be, let me just think for a minute, my daughter, it would be about 12 years.
12 years that you're divorced. And have you had any relationships since your divorce?
I did. I did meet somebody, and I had dated them for about 7 years, also lived with them. He was much younger, and he just wanted certain things in life towards the end that I, wanted different, because I'm 54 or 53, going to be 54, and he was 10 years younger. And I understood where he was coming from. He was looking to have kids and stuff and things like that. And
Right.
we had discussed it. And we ended on a friendly note. And he was a great guy. He was a great guy to my kids. He was a wonderful man. But, he wanted to have kids, and he shouldn't have lost out on that, because it's a great thing to have children if you can and if you want.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that was, that was an amicable breakup, if you will. And then you haven't dated anybody since?
I did. Unfortunately, like all of us, I did go on a website, and I'll never, ever do this again. Never. And I did meet a man, and wound up being in a 2-year relationship with him, and he turned out to be a narcissist and a con artist. So I just learned something new in life. He took me for everything I had, and ruined my credit, had me evicted, lied, unbelievable lies that I learned narcissists do. Because I'm not going to lie, I talked to a therapist because I can't believe what was done to me. And when I go around and I talk to these guys' friends, and they say to me, how about that motorcycle? I never saw that motorcycle he talked about. Or blaming his boss for cheating on his wife, when he's talking about his boss's best friend's daughter that's married, having a baby, and he's telling me that his boss is cheating on his wife with this girl. Like, this guy told me so many absurd things that it's not funny. He even tried to break me and my girls up. But thank God, I should say, he decided to move out, and that was the best thing that ever happened to the two of us, that he went his way and I went my way.
Okay.
And I can tell you, my gut feeling was always right, and I will always, always, always go by my gut feeling again.
Yes. Well, you must do that. You always have to. I can't find it right now. I was looking for it. I actually have a post, and it actually talked about a narcissist, and I want to see if I can find it, because it was just so here it is, and it didn't. Okay, so here it's
mind blowing.
It's so spot on. So I'm gonna read it. Do you know a narcissist? Everything will revolve around this person. It will be all about their needs, their wants, and their life. Nothing will ever be their fault, even with evidence to contrary. it still is never their fault. They neglect you, take you for granted, and never make you feel important or valuable. Selfish is an understatement when you are dealing with them. They lack empathy and compassion, and the only feelings they care about is their own. Everyone around them are objects to be used for their own gratifications or needs.
Boy, you couldn't hit that on the head any better than what you just said.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question, like not to sound, like this is probably going to sound like a stupid question. It's like when you go to a therapist and they go, well, how does that make you feel? Duh. It pisses me off. I hate them, but whatever. So now would you consider yourself to be broken or damaged or resentful, angry, bitter? Are you any of those things because you had this relationship?
Well, I have to say the most thing of all in the beginning after, he went his way and I went my way and I found out, what he was, I was very angry that he had lied to me because he was so believable in his lies. And then the other thing, when you say they care about themselves only, and it's always about me, he had 2 back surgeries, one in June, one in July, and then he went into rehab center. Well, in the medical field, you're in it for 2 reasons, either the money or the compassion.
Right.
Well, I didn't make much money being an EMT, but I did have the compassion. And I took care of this man. I shaved him, showered him, bathed him, changed his diapers, went to the hospital every day, cooked for him. He would cry on my shoulder, and I really thought, wow, we really have a relationship. And he even had the nerve to give me an engagement ring. So they're very, very, very good at what they do, and they teach you to learn how to read other people. He has really taught me a lot in life from what he did. He has made me see what other people do in life, and I have to say that my gut is always right now.
No better way to learn how to play the game than to learn from the player.
Correct, and I told him that. I said, you know what? You were the best teacher I ever had in my whole life, and you taught me more things than I ever thought I could learn. And he did.
So now,
you know what? He really, really did.
So now let me ask you this. So is that what you carry with you? You carry with you the thanks for the lessons that you learned, or do you carry with you the bitterness and the anger?
No, the bitterness and anger is gone because there's nothing I can do. He did it. It's done and over with.
Okay.
He has taught me to see people for who they really are. And when my gut tells me something, 9 out of 10 times people's guts are right.
It's very difficult to trust that. It's funny, somebody put a post up today, and I keep saying I'm going to tattoo it like on my forehead. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. I always see the good in people, and somebody could do the same thing over and over, and I still try to understand why. Okay, well, they didn't, we were just talking before about how people didn't respond to text messages or whatever. Oh, in my head, I'm making excuses. Oh, they were busy. They didn't have their phone on them, whatever. I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt, when in fact, they probably just really are not showing me the same respect that I'm showing them. But you try to give people the benefit of the doubt, right? And you try to see the good in people.
You're right.
Because if you don't, then you're just like them.
Correct.
And then they win.
And I love what you said about going to the bathroom because, everybody has to go to the bathroom. Everybody has to go get a drink of water. I don't care what you do for a living. My daughters, I used to tell them, only text me on the ambulance if it's an emergency.
Right.
Now, I'm on an ambulance with a patient, and I can actually text them back and say, I can't talk now. Click, done. Now, if I can do that in an emergency, why can't a man text you back when they're on Facebook all goddamn day, and they tell you, oh, I'm very busy trying to straighten my life out. All I said to you was good morning. You can't have the decency to text me back, but you call yourself old-fashioned? Give me a break. You're full of shit.
You know what? It's funny that you say that. I have had that happen to me as well, where I don't know if this has happened to you, but and again, I've been off the market at this point for a good while, right? Because I'm good. And I was like, so now I would go through that where it would be like you meet somebody, you start texting back and forth, your phone is blowing up for like days on end or whatever, right? It's blowing up. You're getting a text every 3 minutes. It feels like you talked all day long, via text or whatever, right? And then after like a week or two or whatever, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I didn't hear from you. Well, I can't text you when I'm at work. I'm too busy. I get in trouble if I text you when I'm at work. Oh, okay. So who was I texting with the past 2 weeks? That was somebody else, right? You had a different job 2 weeks ago than you do right now. Like, are you kidding me right now? Or, I run a business and, I don't have time to do this. Oh, really? But when you need this, and that, or when you wanted to freaking, ask me what I was wearing, you had plenty of time for that. But now you're running a business and you're too busy. I mean, who are you kidding right now? Right? So that's so that's why, like, I get it. And I think it's just, I've said this 1,000 times on my show. No response is a response. And again, correct. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. And when people show you who they are, believe them. And I keep saying that. So now,
well, I did listen to the gentleman that was on.
Yes, and before you do that, and I will let you. I want to hear your side of it. I'd like to read the post one more time because I have listeners that have, like, maybe they went to go get a glass of wine. Maybe they missed the beginning of the show. So I'm going to reread the reason why I did this show in the first place. So the reason why I did this show in the first place was because I have a new Facebook friend. I don't know if he's new, but, I have a Facebook friend. I saw this post, and to me, it was perfect show material because a lot of you out there know that I talk about the climate. I talk about dating after 40. I talk about all of these things. So I'm going to reread the post. I had Nick on the show at the beginning of the show for the first hour, and this was his words which prompted me to do this show. So, and again, he said he's a life coach. He has a psychology major, and he said that this is his personal page. So his personal page does not reflect the professional end of it. So, as a disclosure for Nick, because I was not aware of this. Okay. So here it is. It says, I never actually knew how damaged these women are in my age bracket. We joke about it, but it's beyond sickening. Enough already with the soap opera dramatics. I'm not here to insult them or try to figure them out anymore. It's pointless. They will never let go of their past. Never. There is still a lot of good women out there, but most nowadays are damaged. I went through a real horrible divorce and separation, and so did my daughters. Even my own children who were put through hell have let go of a bad experience in their life. They have all the love and attention they could ever want, but I taught them to drive on and be happy, and they are happy. My girls are more mature than women in their 40s. It's okay to reflect every once in a while or feel sad, but grown-ass women with the boo-hoo, woe is me nonsense is such a turnoff. I may have to ask Caitlyn Jenner out on a date. I'm beyond sick and tired of these women and their sob stories. Go out on a date and leave your ex in the past. Meet new people and try and be happy. New men are not your exes. No one cares about your ex or your story. Let it go or go cry in the corner sucking on your thumb. It's embarrassing the way these women act and want to go on and on about how they've done wrong. Your ex has moved on and is probably happier. Where am I? I'm sorry. Your ex has moved on and is probably happier without you, a new girl, and has a new girlfriend or a new wife in their life. We get it already. All men are bad and you will never trust anyone again. Who gives a shit? Grow up and buy 3 cats.
Yes, I saw that.
This message is not intended towards all women. Unfortunately, it does pertain to a lot of women nowadays. Men have their flaws, but men move on even if they are hurt. Bitter, angry, jaded, and cynical women are on a revenge crusade. grow old with pussycats, then because that's where that will happen if you don't move on and stop living in the past. So just for the listeners and that are out there right now, that was that was why I did this show in the first place. And Lisa actually was one of the ladies that commented. There were quite a lot of comments on there. A lot of the men concurred. And then a lot of the women opposed, and then a lot of the women, agreed. So as always with every situation, everybody's going to have their own opinion on it. Now, Lisa, do you know Nick?
Yes, I do.
Okay. How do you know him?
Through Facebook.
Okay. So have you ever met?
Actually, we never met in person.
Okay.
We have talked on the phone and through Facebook Messenger.
Okay. So now when I don't, I'm glad I actually took pictures. I snapshotted it because I wanted to make notes for myself for the show. And then when I looked on his page, I think he took it down. So I wasn't able to see all of the comments at this point. I don't know if I missed them or not. So what was your response to that?
Well, him and his friend, and yes, this is his personal page, okay? Him and his friend, every other day or every other weekend, it's women suck. If I had enough money, I could buy a small place in Africa, his friend says, with all the women and their drama, blah, 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 blah. I'm an old-fashioned guy, and that's how I treat women. Really? First of all, I don't think you need to bash women every other week, even if it's your own personal page, okay? We know you don't like us. Let it go. Do your thing and walk away. Goodbye. Are you that hung up on what women do in their lives? If we're such drama queens, then walk away and go do your thing somewhere else or find the perfect Barbie for yourself, okay? We all have problems. We all go through things in life, and that doesn't make you a drama queen. And everybody's not hung up on their ex. And I don't think that that's fair to say that and then to go find yourself 3 cats and go live as an old lady. They're kind of saying, listen, I have my opinion. He has his opinion. As far as I know, from speaking to him, he does not have a college degree in psychology, or does he teach life classes, okay? From my opinion, from what I know. I can't speak and say he's wrong. All I can say is from what I know.
Uh-huh.
But he's not an old-fashioned man because he doesn't answer texts back at all. He's one of the guys who actually, he's talking about the other guys, but actually he's the guy who says he is old-fashioned, but he's not. Because I texted him one day and said hello to him and good morning, and he told me he was too busy putting out fires in his life with all the drama that's going on in his life, and he told me, I don't have time to text you. But you could be on Facebook texting away about the drama queens, but you couldn't even say hello to me. So, when I have that in black and white, and I'm not lying, and I can swear on my kids because I have it in black and white, that really makes me pissed off that you're trying to make yourself sound so mature and I have to say, you use wonderful words, so mature and so great, but you're doing exactly what you're saying women are doing.
So I find that happens a lot with people. And again, I just met both of you for the first time, so I am neutral on this.
Sure.
But what I did say that in part of the show, that I think a lot of times people don't realize their roles in things. I've had situations, not so long ago where people have described a certain situation that they felt other people put them in, and they did exactly the same thing to me. So it's like, I don't get it. You didn't like when it was done to you, but now you did it to me, but you have no accountability for that because you don't feel that you did that. So that's my point, is that sometimes I think people don't get it. They're not self-aware enough. and maybe they exclude themselves from it in some way, shape or form. But I find, and you know what, and to again, I'm not taking sides anywhere.
No,
I do
fine.
feel that, for like, I am a very dramatic person. Okay. I'm very animated. I'm very dramatic. My son is the same way. He's been on this show. He's very animated, very dramatic. I'm very dramatic, but I am drama free. I do not, drama is around me. I do not create drama. I don't want to know drama. Anybody that knows me knows I avoid it like you have no idea. But it follows me because people like to judge, people like to talk, people like to whatever, and that's fine. But there are a lot of people, men and women, that are they're all about drama. And
Correct.
they have to have something going on in their life in order to feel, I guess, alive, validate. I don't even know what it is, but they create something out of nothing. So I can understand why Nick would say, drama, because some people, but again, you don't know what drama means to him. So to him, you saying to him, I text you, you didn't text me back. To him, that might be drama. You don't know what constitutes drama in his mind. So like to him, like I said, when I finish my show, nobody's breaking my balls. I'm going inside. I don't got to talk to nobody. So maybe So maybe in my head, I might consider that to be drama, right? So that's what I'm trying to say. We don't know what the other person considers drama. So sometimes men feel that women are all drama because we're emotional. So they think of emotions as drama. Like, oh, you're creating, like, I know, like, why are you making such a big deal out of this? What's the big deal? All right, you text me and I didn't respond to you. I was busy. Like, I was in a class all day long. Oh, whatever. What are you making a big deal out of it for? To men, maybe that's drama. To us, we don't like it. So,
no.
Again, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. So it all depends on what constitutes drama. I realize that you have a different, I know you were very strong about this, and then you wrote, you put other things on Facebook as well, right? What went on with that? I didn't, and again, that was drama. To me, that was all drama, but I missed all that. Right. So fill me in.
And what happened was, I was sitting on the beach on Sunday, just going through Facebook, and, I go through and I see him and his friend going back and forth about the whole thing, about the drama and the women and blah, blah, blah. And like I said, I was so sick of not hearing it, but seeing it on Facebook. I was like, you know what? Enough is enough already. Like, let it go. And I just had to put my 2 cents in. I was pissed off. And listen, his friend's like, oh, why? Because he didn't take you out? No, listen. I asked him out for a drink, and he said to me, oh, that's so funny. I was just going to ask you out. I have no problem admitting I asked the man out for a drink. And he responded, and he said, I was going to ask you out also. We talked a couple of times on the phone, blah, blah, blah. Mother's Day came, and he said to me he had his children for the weekend. And I said, okay, fine, I understand. Guys get busy, and I think that it's nice that men are involved in their children's lives, because my ex-husband was not.
Right.
Once we divorced and separated, he turned himself away, paid his alimony, and went on his way.
I'm sorry to hear that.
So that's okay. I'm good with it. But I give guys credit that take their kids and do stuff with them, because that's wonderful. You're in their life.
Right.
I have no problem with that.
Okay.
But I texted him on Mother's Day, and all I said to him was hello. Now, he told me, and he screamed at me to take the post down, get it off, because he was going to lose his job, he's losing his apartment, he's losing his car, and I can prove this because I have it in black and white. And he said, you had no right to put my personal business up there. Well, maybe I didn't, okay? Maybe I was in the wrong. But you know what? Stop talking about women when you're no better.
Well, you know,
That's my whole point, and that's all I'm trying to get across is you're no better. You're not old-fashioned, because if you were old-fashioned, all you had to say to me is, Lisa, I have a lot going on in my life right now. I'm sorry, and when and if I have time, I will get back to you. Okay, thank you. You answered me. That's all I needed. I don't need to, don't give me this shit. Oh, I'm so busy. I don't have time for that. But you're on Facebook posting all day long.
And, again, it's, this is real talk, I mean, there's no script here. You and I didn't talk about this beforehand. I didn't talk to Nick beforehand. This is the first time I'm hearing your voice. It was the first time I heard his voice. And I believe in being transparent. So I'm certainly not here to throw either one of you under a bus.
Oh, no.
And you're entitled to feeling the way you feel. And if you had this type of interaction with him, I understand that it would be frustrating, to hear, because it is frustrating when someone doesn't validate your feelings. So, we're not, neither one, you know what went on. He knows what went on, and he's not here to defend himself. Right now. So, we're going to keep it as neutral as possible.
Sure.
But,
I really don't have, guys, I'm sorry.
No, but at the same token, it's real talk, and you're calling out something. So it's like, and again, I have to watch what I say. I have a talk show. No, but I'm saying in general, like on my personal page or whatever, I have a talk show. So like, I'm not going to post a political post on my Facebook, because that's not what you don't do that, because you don't mix things like that. I mean, one time a year ago, I was watching TV and I was doing an episode. I was going to do men. It was masculinity versus femininity. And ironically, that was on Fox News. As I was flipping through the channels, I saw that masculinity versus femininity, and I took a picture of it. Now, I was literally just flipping through the channels. I'm not saying what channel I normally watch. I'm not saying what political standpoint I have. It was just the fact that I was like, holy shit, this is what I'm doing the show on, and there it is. So I took a snapshot of it and I put it on. And do you know the comments I got? What are you doing watching Fox? What are you doing watching Fox News?
Mm-hmm.
So now I didn't even realize because I don't think that way, right? So I don't stand divided. I accept everybody for who and what they are. It didn't even dawn on me that I was representing, one side or another, because I took a picture of Fox News or whatever.
5,
right, Fox 5.
Mm-hmm.
So I go back to, so my point is that, and if I was friends with Nick, I would have this conversation with him as well. You do have to be mindful of what you post publicly, period, end of discussion. Because, for every action, there is a reaction. Sometimes we say the wrong thing. Sometimes we don't mean it intentionally towards someone or something, but it comes across that way. So you do have to be mindful, because if your words matter, and, then you have to make sure they matter all the time. So I did tell him in that post, when he talked about the 3 cats or whatever, that was offensive, and I didn't like it either. So, I mean, and again, it's all relative, because I'm sure I said a couple of things tonight that pissed off a couple of people too, and they might have found it offensive. And I'm okay with that, because you know what? It's real. And this is real talk. So somebody said to me actually very recently, thick skin. So you know what? You said the 3 cats. You own it. And you know what? He does. Well, he did. When we were talking, he owned it. And he was like, yeah, I made a comment like that. It was it might have come off a certain way. But you know what? It was my personal page, and I felt that that's what I wanted to convey. And we all have freedom of speech, and it's okay to do that. But on the flip side of it, now there's going to be repercussions for that. So now somebody like yourself, who feels that you can prove that wrong, if you will, now you're coming back on the other side of that, because you feel, if I'm not mistaken, you felt that the post that he put up and his interactions with you did not reflect that of what he was trying to portray. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, I mean, basically, he's portraying that he's an old-fashioned man, from the 80s and stuff, which, God, who wouldn't want a guy back from the 80s, you know?
Right.
And he's really, when I first started talking to him, he is a very nice person to talk to. He's a funny person. He was a nice person. The only thing I don't like is that, here we go again, you can take 2 minutes out while you're going to the bathroom and just text somebody. And, I read a lot of things, and they always say if someone's very interested or even has a decency to just text you back and say, I'm sorry. And like I said, all he had to say to me is, I'm sorry, I'm going through a lot right now, which I didn't even know. We really didn't talk that much after the last time I spoke to him. I didn't know what he went through till he texted me everything. And all I needed was, listen, right now is not a good time. Whatever. We'll talk again soon. Good morning to you. And that was it. But when you ignore me and I see you on Facebook, that pisses me off because I took out my time on Mother's Day, which has really nothing to do with it. But I took my time out just to say good morning or hello, whatever I said, a simple word. All you had to do is say hello back. I can't talk. I got shit going on in my life. That's all I'm asking.
Right. But now let's, okay. And I understand what you're saying 100%. But at the end of the day, and again, please don't take this the wrong way.
No.
But what does it matter? Like, he showed you, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. So if this was his actions and the way he was, then at that point, why continue to allow him to affect you?
Right. Well, you know what it is? Let me bring up something else and just get off the subject of Nick for a minute. Maybe you'll understand. I had another gentleman inbox me during the week.
Okay.
And this guy is inboxing me left and right. I want to take you out to dinner. You sure you're going to go with me? Blah, blah, blah. So here comes Memorial Day weekend. Now, I still haven't heard from him. I have his number. He has my number.
Okay.
So he says to me, I said, can you just take 5 minutes of your time just to call me and say hi so I can hear your voice? He says, I have company and I can't get away. Okay, that sounds a little funny. I said, but can I just tell you something? I said, my stepdad passed away 3 weeks ago, and I had a call come in at his services, and I actually was able to step away for 5 minutes. So I didn't know what was so difficult about stepping away. But you know what my gut told me? Nah, he's got his girlfriend or his wife. There's somebody there. Well, wouldn't you believe it? Put his name in Google, and all this social media and LinkedIn and all that crap about jobs and everything pops up. I find out his Instagram name. You don't have to be a cop to figure out things. I go on his Instagram, boom, boom, 2 kids, boom. Me and Michelle are so lucky, me and Michelle this, me and Michelle that. Oh, really? Well, I was creepy and weird because I said I took a call at my stepfather's wake. I'm not creepy and weird. You're creepy and weird because you got caught. I caught you. I found out everything about you. So now I'm the weirdo and I'm the creeper because you can't call me till today. Then he unblocks me from Facebook and he says, oh, I'm so sorry. I felt so bad for blocking you. I said, I really don't give 2 shits. So you blocked me, you didn't block me. So last night I just had to let him know that I found out about who he really is. And I said to him, who is Michelle, your wife, your girlfriend? And he skipped over that and said, I'm sorry I didn't call you last night. I fell asleep. I said to him, I don't need you to ever call me. I just asked you a question and you can't seem to find an answer for it. I'm done with him. But here's my point. It's very easy to find out what people do in their lives.
Right.
All you have to do is put a name in, and boom, this guy's either married or he has a girlfriend, which, hey, good for you. But don't be calling me up and thinking that I'm going to go out with you when you're a cheater and a liar and say you're super single. You didn't even tell me you had 2 kids. What's wrong with you? So here's where I go with my gut. And that's what my gut told me when he wouldn't call me all weekend. My gut told me there's somebody at that house that there's a reason why he can't call, and boom, I put his name in Google last night, and I found out everything.
Well, and you know what? And I'm sorry that happened to you. And at that point, if you keep saying that your gut is telling you, you need to learn from your gut, and you need you're giving too much. So you do look,
I am.
So I mean, please take this, I mean it in the most loving way, but you do look crazy. Because you're like a detective, and if you get that feeling, then you don't even know him. You had nothing invested. Why would you put so much time and effort into it? You should have just, if you really owned it and you really are solid, and you don't need someone in your life. The minute you see some, like I always talk about red flags. You saw 37 red flags, and yet you continued to pursue this. So listen to yourself, because you knew, but you wanted to believe differently. And look, I know I'm right, and I'm not saying, I'm not trying to be right, but I'm on the other side of it. If I was you, maybe I would have done the same thing. I don't know. I wasn't in the situation you were. But the point is that this is how maybe, and again, I'm just maybe, someone like Nick, or, whatever, that the male population that thinks us women are drama and crazy and bitter and angry, that does come off a little like that, right? Because you put a lot of effort into finding out this stuff. And I know it's not a lot of effort because all you do is type in a name, but I'm just saying it does seem creepy and stalky. I'm not saying you were wrong because your gut told you something, but at that point, once your gut tells you that, if you have to go that far deep into things, you're already too far in. So if your gut says that next time around, if that happens, you know what, something's not right, and you leave it alone. And then if he reaches out to you and you don't get the response, you knew right away what was up, but yet you gave him, and to tell him you answered the phone during your during a wake. In my opinion, there was no reason to even, you can't make that a valid point for him. Everybody does what's right for them. My phone goes off while I'm doing a live show sometimes, and I'm like, I lose my train of thought. I got people messaging me. I got people texting me. I don't even know and it's like, I can't always respond to people, and it does throw me off a little bit. So, you have to just kind of take it all with a grain of salt. And I understand, and especially you were damaged because you went out with this narcissist and he took advantage of you. So, and now you're very afraid of getting, and we just talked about this with Nick on the phone, right? That so many of us are afraid to get hurt again, right?
Correct.
So,
absolutely.
but again, if I may interject as a loving heart, you need to do some work on you so that you can, as does everyone else that has trust issues, to a certain degree.
Right.
Because it's not this person's fault. And I think that was the point to Nick's post, is that if Tommy did you wrong, Nick shouldn't pay for that. So
You're right.
And a lot, but, and again, this goes both ways, because men do the same thing. I know, I've met them all. And, and they're like, you know what? My ex-wife, she took me for everything I had. She fucked me, she cheated on me. She this, she that. I don't give a shit. So now he's just going to date random women all the time, and that's it. And they have that mentality as well, because they didn't take the time to heal themselves. And they are angry, they are resentful, and nobody is ever going to get the better of them again, because they're the man, they got the balls, and nobody's ever going to take advantage of them again. And now women, I am woman, hear me roar. I have my power. I don't need a man. So you know what? And this is what happens. And this is why the men are banging their chests and the women are, in the because it doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. You can't put a square peg in a round hole. You can't do it. So this is why we're all really in this terrible, position, in trying to date later in life, is because everybody is carrying this baggage and resentment, and maybe you don't even realize it. Like right now, maybe you, hopefully, maybe I enlightened you a little bit, and you think about that, and you said, you know what? maybe Karen was right. Maybe I overlooked those red flags. I should have known better. Maybe I'm trying to see, I'm so scared of getting hurt that maybe I'm looking for things, and maybe it's me, and maybe I am bringing drama because I didn't heal, because now I don't trust anybody, because I did everything for this man. I wiped his ass for him. I cooked for him. I did all these things for him, and he took advantage of me, and he played me, and I don't ever want to get played again. So,
exactly.
And I totally understand that, and I support that, and you should have never been put through that. Just like the men should have never been put through what they were put through. They should have never been taken. I know my husband used to tell me, my late husband used to say to me all the time, cheaper to keeper. He used to tell me about these guys. They worked their asses off, and they had to provide for their children. Of course, you have to provide for your children, 110%. These guys would come home with a quarter of their paycheck. That's fucked up. So the wife is in the house with the kids, living the life of Riley. Maybe she don't work, whatever. And this poor bastard is working, and he gets a quarter of his paycheck because he's taking care of her, and she's probably banging the pool boy. So, there are two sides to every story, and we all have to take that into accountability, because we've all been through something. Some of us carry more things than others. Some of us are more giving. There are givers and takers in the world, and the takers always find the givers. So you were played by a player. He saw that you were a giver, and he was going to take everything you had. So don't change who you are, okay? Don't not be a giver, because that's how your heart works, and you have so much to offer, right? But you have to do it from a different place, because you are not putting it in that place. As I'm listening to you speak, you're not coming from the right place, and that's and I believe in law of attraction. So what you're putting out is what you're going to get back, and you're still living in that place. Understandably so, because of what you've been through. But now that you're on the other side of that, you need to do that work so that you no longer put that out, because you want a giver to receive your giving. You don't want a taker. But right now, that's what you're going to attract, because you haven't done that work yet to do it. And you know what? It's so difficult to do.
Takes a long time, too.
Of course. But you know what? The first thing you got to do is realize it. And that's what I was saying to Nick, is that a lot of people don't realize it. When I was referring to, the guy that said he wants to get married, and yet you got marriage material in front of you, and you don't recognize it. And his words were, well, he was afraid. No, he did recognize it. He afraid. So you know what? I'm gonna find everything I can wrong with her, so that I don't get attached to her. And I'm going to create a scenario so that when I walk away, I think I did the right thing, even though it was probably the biggest mistake you could have ever made.
Correct. That's correct.
So listening to you, I just want you to, understand on the other end of it that, I want you to be aware that there is, that you need to work. What? People are just blowing up my phone right now. I apologize. And I don't know why I have volume on here either, but it is what it is. No, I mean, it shouldn't be happening, but I apologize. But I just think that on an outsider looking in, and again, I call it like it is. I am not a psychiatrist. I just play one on the radio. But I just would like you to, I know you've been hurt, and you have to maybe, find a different, like we're attracted to certain things. And maybe we need to just, be mindful of what we're actually attracted to.
You're right. And like I said, listen, guys get abused too. It goes both ways. Not only girls, guys get abused too.
Yes.
I've seen it working on the ambulance. I've taken guys to the hospital because their wife is beating the shit out of them, or God, they take a knife out and they slash them or stab them with a pen. I mean, I've seen so many crazy things. So I understand it goes both ways. I don't, say that no, men don't, nothing happens to them, because yes, they do get hurt. We all get hurt, unfortunately. And yes, these days is so much harder to date. And Nick was right about one thing. Going out, getting a phone number, calling their home phone was so much easier. The problem today is that texting takes over talking to someone.
And there's
everything is text, 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 text. How can you take a text sometimes and try to figure out what the hell someone's trying to say if you can't understand it, or you take it in the wrong context, and then that blows everything out of proportion.
Right, because
I don't like to keep texting.
There's no inflection in there, so you don't know. Like me, I'm very sarcastic. So I'll like, sometimes I'll just come out with something and somebody will be like, excuse me? And I'm like, oh shit. Like I was just messing around. Like I didn't, and I forget because like my friends like, know. And even then sometimes I have issues because people are like, why would you say that? And I'm like, I was joking. But, it comes off the wrong way. So, yes, pick up the phone. Don't text.
And talk.
Talk. But, again, I think my whole point to this show, I liked his post. I liked the underlying message that he had with that, which was basically verbalizing his feelings on women. And again, not attacking you any way, shape, or form. But again, you do carry carry baggage right now because you were just very badly hurt, and you do carry that baggage. So it does come across in certain ways and things that you do. So maybe, and I'm not just saying Nick, it could be any man, maybe they don't have the proper, sentiment, or way to deal with it where they're not, where they're more, what would be the word? Not accepting, but, they're more supportive. They would be a little more supportive as opposed to.
But you know what? We really didn't talk about that. That never came up. I told him what happened very briefly, and that was the end of it. And down the road it went, just like he told me what had happened with his wife. And that was it. We really didn't I didn't hang on to what he said or what I told him. And then we just had a nice conversation. Like I said, my problem is that if you text somebody, at least have the decency to text them back and say, you're busy, you have things going on in your life. Give somebody the decency that they give you by saying hello, the decency back to something. Just give somebody something instead of ignoring them and then screaming that your life is blown up, but yet you're on. See, that's what makes me angry and has made me angry prior to being in this relationship, is that don't be a liar. Don't say you're so busy in life because your life is blown up, you got things to fix, fires to put out, blah, blah, blah. But you can be posting all day, you're on Facebook, blah, 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 blah. But you can't take 2 minutes to say hello. That's right. My whole point.
But you know what? And point well taken, and I agree with you. But on the other end of that, and again, I love you when I say this, please understand, right. You're making too much out of it at that point, because he showed you where his interest lied. So you Correct. Can't change that. So once that happened, if it didn't align with you, you needed right. to just cut your losses and keep it moving. You didn't even meet him yet. So for you to expel any type of energy, this is way too much energy. So as a man, he's seeing that, and that's a red flag to him. Like, I never even met this girl, and she's breaking my balls because I didn't freaking respond to her. So that tells you everything that you need to know, is that he didn't respond to you in a timely fashion. And when he did, he gave you excuses, right? So that tells you everything. You should have been like, you know what? I'm so sorry to hear that. I wish you the best. If things change, please feel free to reach out to me. The going back and forth and the social media nonsense and all that stuff, it's a mute issue at that point. If you don't want to see what he got to say, unfriend him, and that's it. Like, you know what? This guy's full of shit. I'm not dealing with him, and that's it. Because unfortunately, when you continue to try to prove a point, you actually almost validated everything that he was saying, because you seem like the one that's crazy. Do you follow
Right,
where
right.
I'm at with that?
And I'm not.
I
I'm
get
just
it.
saying,
I
I
get it.
said hello. But really, that was it. Basically, he was trying to tell me, save your sob story, Lisa, because I got you beat by miles and miles with what's going on in my life. And I said to him, listen, I never tried to beat anybody in anybody's problems. We all walk in different shoes. So you walk in your shoes, I walk in my shoes. I would never try to compare what I'm going through with what you're going through.
Right.
And to say to somebody, don't try to beat me because I got you by miles and miles, I was like, wow, that's a really
bitter,
strong statement.
Well, that's bitter and resentful. And, and so, no one wants to, no one wants to trump, when my mom was my mother and my mother-in-law would start talking, and they would go back and forth, and my late husband would laugh and say, oh, here we go, we're playing, name that disease, because my mother-in-law would be like, oh, but my back, when I get up, I get the pain down my thing, and my mother would go, yeah, but my foot, when I get up, my foot doesn't work, and then my mother-in-law would go, yeah, but then, my back hurts, and then it goes down into my knee, and then from my knee, it goes into my foot, and then my mother would go, yeah, but then it goes from my foot. So my husband would say, like, what are we playing? Like, find the disease, like, who's in a worse situation? And it's true. Like, I'm not going to sit here, like, if I got to, like, trump you, I mean, there's no point to it. Be compassionate, validate someone's feelings, what you went through. Look, you went through, I could say the same thing to people. You got divorced. Like, you chose to be divorced. So, you know what?
I did, yeah.
Deal with it. No, and I'm just saying in general. So, you know what? I didn't choose, and Nick made that point while we were on while we were talking. I didn't make the choice. So don't put me in the same category as you. But guess what?
Can't.
Yeah, but you know what? You do, because a loss is a loss. So yes, they're different, but the point is that I don't get a free get out of jail free card because of my loss trumps your loss. Maybe you got divorced and he was the love of your life, and maybe he cheated on you and it killed you and broke you. So you're suffering a loss just the same because you have a broken heart. So nobody trumps the other person. We shouldn't be in competition of who has the worser situation.
No, that's what I'm trying to say.
Right. And so at that point, again, my opinion, red flag. The minute that you had to be outbeat by that, you should have said, you know what? I'm so sorry to hear that. I had no idea. I'm sending you love and light. And if you ever want to talk somewhere down the line, please feel free to reach out. And that should have been the end of it. And then don't engage on nothing else, because nothing good is going to come of that.
Right. Well, we didn't engage anymore after that. That was it. It was just that had popped up on Facebook, and like I said, it's an ongoing thing with him and his friends, and I was just sitting there, and like I said, I was just sick of seeing it. And that's what happened.
No, and I get it, and I totally get your point, and I will never disagree with anybody. I disagree with people all the time, but I would never disagree with anybody on what, your whole context behind it. I hate, and I have done shows on this, I did a rant on it. I hate when people do not respond to a text message or a phone call. I hate it. I think it's inconsiderate. It's insensitive. It's a waste of someone's emotions and feelings.
Yeah.
It's just disrespectful. So
yes,
I am with you on that 110%. But the end of that is, once you realize that the person is this way and that they are not going to respond to you, then you need to make a decision. Do I want a person like this in my life that does not respect my emotions, my feelings, my time? Or do you just not give a shit and you just say, all right, you know what? All right, Frankie's cool. And, when he texts me. And if I'm bored, I'll respond. And if not, I'm not going to reach out to him. Screw it, whatever it is. So now you have to take that upon yourself, because you know already this person is not going to get back to you. So you already know this. Right. So either you accept it or you get moving. It's, those are your choices.
We haven't spoken, we really haven't had any conversations since then, except for last night that he was very upset that I put the post up on the wall, but I did take it down. And he says, please, my job, my daughters. And I said, all right, I can respect that. And,
absolutely. And
I did it out of madness.
Right.
And, yes, that wasn't correct for me to do, but I felt like, hey, you want to say what you want to say. I have my turn now. But,
I understand that, but I'm not going to say two wrongs don't make a right, but, I have a big thing. I also have done shows about airing dirty laundry on social media.
Right.
I don't agree with that. If somebody was calling you out publicly, and I mean, it's been done to me, I don't even feed into it, to be honest. And I'm not telling you it's easy, because in my head, I've responded 37,000 times, but you can't, negotiate with the terrorist. So
no, you can't.
At that point, you have to leave it where it is. If someone is really, really attacking you and it's defamation of character and you have proof of something, I would hate to have to go to that level, but I guess I might. But in this situation, I don't, I think it is what it is. And I think that if you are able to do a little more work on yourself so that you don't feel so taken advantage of, I think it's a defense mechanism for you. I think that, you had this horrible man take advantage of you, and therefore you're retaliating to anyone that you think is trying to take advantage of you. So now that you're aware of it, you can correct it and realize it and check. I always say on the show, check yourself before you wreck yourself. So
you're right.
Now you know this, and I think that, I commend you for apologizing. I commend you for taking it down. He also on the show today, he also said that, certain things sounded a little bit, harsher, and it wasn't his intent to do that. And, he was able to explain further, so it's all, again, a lot of things that come out, there's more behind it, and we don't always see all of it. So, this is what's important. And I think it's a good life lesson. And I think that you are a sweetheart. And I think that you've been through a lot, like so many of us have. And I just would love for you. You have so much love to give. And I would hate for you not to. Because I'm sure that there's someone out there that would be very, very lucky and fortunate and also happy to have you.
Thank you.
But of course, again, just remember some of those things and be mindful, because your heart,
have to be.
You have to be, because it's not who you are. As we're speaking, I see that you're a sweetheart. So, don't misrepresent yourself and
you're right.
And come off that way, because you're coming off, like completely opposite of who you are. So,
and that's what my friends say to me. Why are you doing that? That's not you. Why are you wasting your time? Stop it. Okay. And then they stop and say, oh, I know why you're doing that. And they're like, you got to leave the past in the past and just let go of these guys that, and I have guys telling me this. Let go of them. Let them go. They don't know who you. Just let them go. It's not worth it. No, don't lower yourself. Somebody told me today.
Run, Forrest, run. Yes, that's what
they said.
Run.
Yes.
Run.
Somebody told me that today. He goes, I love talking to you. He goes, you're a sweetheart, and you lowered yourself and did that, because his friend went back and put all kind of shit about you on Facebook. He goes, and that's not you, and you don't want people to read you like that. He goes, Lisa, that is not you. Don't do it again. And I got scolded today, and I said, you're right. That is not me. I was really pissed off, and I did something out of anger, and it was inappropriate. Okay. And I will never do that again.
Lesson learned, though. And you know what? I commend you for recognizing that. We've all done things that, but at least you realized it. Some people do it and they don't even take accountability, and they don't even realize that what they did was wrong. We're all human. We're all entitled.
We all make errors.
And you know what? Especially when emotions are involved. And unfortunately, I think you probably just felt you were being taken advantage of, which is unfortunately, an emotion you knew only too well. And so you lashed out because you wanted to protect yourself. And in essence, you actually put yourself more in harm's way. So
correct.
Now you know, and you won't do it again. And,
Oh, never, never, never. Because I don't want to say I'm too good of a person, but I'm too intelligent, and I should have known better. And
you know what? It has
like
nothing
I did it out of anger.
But
and
it has nothing to do with
again.
intelligence, though. I mean, it really, I mean, anybody can, emotions run rampant, and anger is the biggest, the strongest emotion you can have.
You're
so
right.
don't,
You're right.
It has nothing to do with your intellect. It just has to do with your heart. And your heart has no intellect. We know that we're stupid when it comes to our heart. If we listen to our minds and not our heart, we would never have a broken heart, right? So
you're right.
Don't say that you're smarter than that. One thing has nothing to do with the other. You were kind. You saw things a certain way. You thought you were being taken advantage of, and it's okay. You reacted, and then you realized that you didn't care for the way you reacted, and there's nothing wrong with that. And now you're a bigger, better person for it, and now you're going to be able to heal those things so that the next person that comes into your life is going to be amazing, which is what what you deserve.
Right, absolutely, and he deserves the same thing.
Absolutely,
So,
I think we all do.
We all do. Unfortunately, it just takes a little longer for some of us to find the right person. And we have to be patient.
And it is what it is. And yes, we do have to be patient and never give up hope. But I do thank you. I mean, you don't know me. You had, both of you and Nick, neither one of you know me. It was all off the cuff. You both trusted me, and I really appreciate it to both of you. I think we were respectful. I think we looked at both sides to everything, and that's all we can do is try to see it from all angles. So I appreciate you calling. I appreciate you sharing your story with us, because I'm sure that there are people listening right now that have been in a relationship with a narcissist and have been broken as well. And they can probably relate a lot to what you said today. And we support you and, encourage you to, find your strength again, and to find a giver that doesn't take from you. And I wish you only the very best for your life. I mean, you deserve it.
Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. You were such a sweetheart. You didn't take sides, and I appreciate that. You were just neutral.
Well, thank you. I'm opinionated.
And I think that was great.
I'm opinionated, and I will always share my opinion, but I try not to judge. And I could tell you, well, this is how I feel, and I don't care what you say. This is how I feel. But in a situation like this, and even in every situation, there's always two sides to every story, and then the truth, right?
You're right.
So,
well, that's what I say. 3 sides: your side, their side, and then there's the truth.
Right. So, and again, it's our truth, because to you, your truth is one thing, and to someone else, their truth is another. So you have to always remember that as well and take that into account. So I appreciate you calling in tonight, sharing this with us, and I look forward to maybe us doing this again. Maybe we'll find another topic that's near and dear, and we'll do it again.
Sounds awesome. I would love to.
All right. I thank you.
Would love to.
Thank
You're
you
welcome,
so much
Karen.
for calling, sweetheart. Have a great night.
You too. Take care of yourself now.
All righty.
Bye-bye, Karen.
Bye. Okay. So you are listening to Real Talk with Karen Stacy live on MiamiMikeRadio.com. We had a pretty interesting show today. It was Real Talk. And we were debating between men and women, and the way that men see things, the way women see things. We were I was honored to have both people on. I think everybody was respectful to one another. I think we got great insight from my first caller, Nick, who really brought a lot, to the table for us. And then my second caller, Lisa, who brought things to the table for us as well. Obviously, everybody has their own points of views. They didn't really know what I had planned for today. So we didn't throw anybody under a bus. We just talked real talk. And that's what happened tonight. I know there were a lot of comments this evening, and I didn't really get a chance to see them because I was trying to listen to both of my guests. But I will try to glance through it. I hope that you guys got some different insight. We had a man's perspective. We had a woman's perspective. The fact that they do know each other. And we do see that, I think things got a little bit misconstrued. And, I think that I give Lisa a lot of credit for recognizing that, the place to do things is not on social media. And I commend anybody that tries to better themselves and move forward. So I thank both of my callers today, Nick and Lisa, for sharing with us. Like I said, we had no script. This is all live. I am happy that Nick said that he would come on the show again. Perhaps he will have more insight. I think that, it's unfortunately the show went a little longer than it was supposed to. I probably, in all fairness, Nick probably has things that he wants to add to this as well. And I am unfortunately, we are out of time. But I will certainly have him on again if he would have us on again. We could continue this because I think it's a really pertinent discussion, because I think that we really did understand, a lot of the aspects of what he wrote in that post and how it goes to men and how it goes to women. And a lot of us are guilty of a lot of those things, right? So I thank everybody for listening. I thank you all for your input. I apologize that I haven't been able to look at the comments and stuff. But you are listening to Real Talk with Karen Stacy live on MiamiMikeRadio.com. And I just want to remind you guys of all of the amazing shows that we have on MiamiMikeRadio.com. Mondays, we have DJ Luke at 1. Paulie, aka the Portuguese Prince, at 6 p.m. The first Monday of every month is Rob Mush, Mind Candy Mondays. Tuesdays, we have Steve, DJ Simply Nice, at 1 p.m. And then, of course, Real Talk with Karen Stacy at 8 p.m. Wednesdays, we have the Loyal Listener Show. We have Mayhem going on with Hamilton Czar and May May. Thursdays is Michael Anthony at 4 and Frankie Maggs at 8. Fridays, we have at 8 o'clock, we have Simply Nice. And then at 10 p.m., we have the Friday night dance party, or Friday night sessions, excuse me. Saturdays, we have the Ghazi show at 8, and then we have the Saturday night dance party with Anthony Mangini. And then Sundays, we have, I think Anthony is coming on, Grimaldi. I'm not sure. I think he started last Sunday. I didn't hear it yet, but Anthony Grimaldi will be on as well. So, I thank you guys. And also, we are part of DISA, the Digital Internet Streaming Alliance. So this show is actually not only on Miami Mike Radio, but WMLO as well. So thank you guys for listening and staying with me. I realized that I went overtime, so sorry. I know we talked it out, but I think it was fun, and I'm grateful to both of my guests and to all of you for listening. So I love you all, and have a good night. Hopefully everybody is safe from this horrible storm in New York. Ciao for now.